Joining me today is Chairman of Stewards Graham Locke to look through last Saturday night's meeting at Tabcorp Park, Menangle. But before we head into that, I just wanted to bring up with you, Graham, the supplementary report that came through from the Menangle meeting last Tuesday week.
Yes, the stewards concluded that matter yesterday at Menangle prior to the race meeting, and Mr Giles was found guilty of an unacceptable drive, and his licence to drive in races was suspended for a period of 6 weeks. Mr Giles does have a right of appeal in respect to that decision.
Okay, well, we'll flick back to Saturday night's meeting and we'll start with race 1, which saw a minor upset with Glenferrie Bronte taking home the cash.
Well, yes, probably a little bit unusual in the sense that the change of tactics were for the horse to be driven further back, and obviously after the start, Amanda Turnbull thought that due to the conformation of the field and the pace of the race at that time, she actually held a position in the field, and that was probably the winning move, to be more forward than she had originally intended. We did note that Benny's Ace, Mr Binskin's runner, driven by Darren Hancock, was held up and not tested in running to the finish. We did think there was an incident down around the 200 metres where Benny's Ace had shifted at the same time as Franco Sepia, which was inconvenienced as a result. Stewards took no action in respect to that incident. And we did ask Mr Komorowski, the owner and driver of Lumos, in regards to his tactics in the race. Mr Komorowski had indicated to us that he would look to have a look out of the gate to see what his options were to go forward. He did push up outside Mrs Grives for a little while before he then went back, and after going back I think he understood that he might have made a mistake. He was conceding too big a start in the conformation of the field. Giving the sectionals in the middle of the race, he then pushed forward around the turn. He said that the horse got a bit awkward and wanted to hang in the final stages of the turn, and in his view was disappointing running to the finish, but he did counter that by saying that the horse hadn't performed at his best over the longer distances, and when kept to 1600 metres performed better. And he did indicate to us that the stable plans would in future to be to attempt to restrict the horses racing to the mile. The stewards did note Mr Komorowski's explanation.
Okay, heading to race 2, bit of an upset again with Clancy's Fob Watch winning, and there was a delay at the start of this race.
Well, it was. We had some issues with Don Boston, became very fractious after he made contact with the outside fence, and then there was an issue with the gear. The stewards eventually confiscated the lugging pole that was removed from the horse, and we did find that there was a burr on the horse which we thought was sharper than that approved, and consequently yesterday at Menangle Mr Jerd was fined the sum of $200 for having gear unapproved by the stewards. Don Boston subsequently took part in the race and did break at the vicinity of the 1900 metres. David Morris did explain to us that in the horse being fractious prior to the score-up, he had actually dropped his Murphy blind, and the head check strap had become entangled with his ear, and he put that down to the horse's manners. But nevertheless we did request that Don Boston be excluded from the barrier draw in future mobile starts. Ideal Situation was probably disappointing. Everybody was a bit hyped up, I guess, with Ideal Situation having beaten the good 3-year-old on Tuesday, and on face value probably didn't look as though he ran up to that performance. Chris Geary did explain that the horse was having the first start for the McCall stable at 2300 metres, and he was of the opinion that the quick backup was against the horse's best interest. Mr McCall did advise the stewards that they would try and restrict Ideal Situations racing to the mile in future. And in respect to Clancy's Fob Watch, Amanda, I would have thought its recent form had been very consistent. It had obviously a very good run in the race, but had previously been driven for luck with peg runs, and had finished races off very handsomely without any great luck in races. So not totally a surprise, I wouldn't have thought.
Okay. Race 3, not too much to report on out of that race, but in race 4, stewards have adjourned an inquiry into the horse Karmic Fire.
Yes, we did. Look, probably just a little concern that Karmic Fire, driven by Mr McCarthy, had shifted away from its running line inside the 300 metres just after entering the straight. It was noted, and Mr McCarthy pointed out, that leaving the back straight, Karmic Fire had raced probably about half a cart off the marker pegs and had got marginally wider into that part of the straight. Mr McCarthy put to the panel that he had made every endeavour through the use of the whip in the right hand and the rein in the left hand to try and maintain his straight course on Karmic Fire. And in fairness to Mr McCarthy, the shift one would describe, I guess, as a moderate shift. We did have Karmic Fire examined, and the veterinary surgeon did report to us that he had a burr mark on the inside of his neck, and at the same time he had some bruising to the inside of his lips. In looking at the race and considering Mr McCarthy's explanation, the stewards are determined to adjourn the matter till it'll be concluded this Saturday, and to allow us to review the betting on the race, and we've done that this week.
Okay, heading to race 5, at the start was a bit tricky. We had Better Bet Black hanging in and broke a couple of strides.
Yeah, most unusually, not only did he break, but he shifted in very abruptly and made sharp contact with Pop from the Beach, and probably didn't do the chances of either horse much good. Unusually then we saw Pop from the Beach probably settle more or less in the position he might have otherwise, but Better Bet Black, instead of being high-balling in front, was actually in the 1-1 position. But yes, rather unusual, and his record's been impeccable, Better Bet Black, so he's issued with a warning.
Race 6 was the main race, won by Cyclone Kate.
Well, I think Cyclone Kate, from her very early starts in New South Wales, I think she won a feature race at Tamworth and went to Goulburn and then came back, and they were hoping that she'd qualify for the Ladyship Mile, which was come too soon for her, I guess, for want of a better expression. But on Saturday night at the time, she was quite dominant, and I guess looking forward, you could anticipate some clashes between Mr McCarthy's mare and Mr Tritton's mare, and that'll be something to look forward to, I think, for our harness racing enthusiasts.
Most definitely. Anything else out of that race, Graham?
No, we did take issue with Todd McCarthy on Frith, which I understand was having its last race start, but stewards deemed that prior to the start being affected, Todd McCarthy had left his gate position and he was fined the sum of $200.
Okay, and then race 7 was the claiming race, won by Compose.
Yeah, look, not much to report. Probably the best run in the race won the race. Came off, I think, the 1-1 initially, and then outside them. In Transit had difficulty getting clear running in the straight, finished off very well. These horses are all pretty evenly graded. Modern Maestro from back in the field was probably a nice run as well, but all in all an incident-free race, Amanda. And
then the last race, the Trotters race, won by Ione Negrinna.
Well, again, it was you've got a trot to win a trot race, I guess, and we had a number of runners who went off stride, including Paris Pepperell, which was in the market. Paris Pepperell was examined by the veterinary surgeon who reported that the mare exhibited lameness in the near hind, and that'll require some attention from trainer Mr Elchin. And out of the meeting as well in race 2, Amanda, we did take issue with Mr Aitken's runner Aldebaran Macca being reported to us that it was late arriving on course. Subsequently, yesterday at Menangle, Mr Aitken pleaded guilty to a charge and was fined the sum of $300 for not being on the course at the required time. And just for the viewers, what is the required time at Menangle and a metro meeting? A metro meeting is, a normal metro meeting is for race 1 is an hour before the race. For all other races, an hour and a half. And then when we have group races, group 1 races, those horses have got to be on course 2 hours before. For a normal Monday-Tuesday meeting at Menangle, it's an hour before. Okay. All right, thanks for the update, Graham. Thanks, Amanda.